we talk about the importance of SALT being in the building. And so with the WSL, that's kind of like, you really do want professionals running the business. I think that'll benefit the business. But at the same time, you want to make sure there's SALT in the building to kind of help guide, to steer the ship. You're salty.
I'm salty.
Did you feel that you had influence over the organization, being the SALT in the building? And
yeah, I think that there's this misconception that there's sort of, and I think it's understandable, that there's like, let's just say there's a table on one side, there's the surfers, and then the other side, there's the business. And there's a tug of war going on. I never felt that. Hey, in any competitive matter, Eric was never looking to say, dude, we're doing this. You know, he would look to me and go, dude, you tell me. You know this stuff. I don't. I think that there is like a couple things that I would say. Most of the people in there are, they're really passionate about just doing the right thing. And I would say all of them, actually. So my conversations with Eric have always been super positive. He's never the one that's saying, hey, like, I don't care. I never heard this. I don't care what you say. This is what we're doing. That never happened. There's a lot of, hey, can we try this? Can we try, whatever? And it always passes by the sort of and it's like Jesse, it was KP for a long time. It's Renato, it was myself. Hey, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Dave is a part of that as well. And again, I'm going to flip it on the other side and say, hey, so conversely, you could have a business that's just sort of boring, and we're just going to be 3 to the beach. Because the other side of it is, hey, we just like the things the way they are, which isn't a good answer.
Yeah, those aren't the only two sides.
I feel
like if we put him at 8-foot cloud break, there's inherent drama. There's inherent, like, the central drama there is man and woman versus nature. And then, of course, you have a competitor as the secondary thing. But I think that solves all the problems. I think that broadens the demographic of people who want to watch the thing.
So let me ask you this. I got a question.
Yeah.
How many people should be on tour?
Less than 32 males, I'd say.
Why?
I mean, 15. So you can run in one swell window, so you don't have to stick around for 2 weeks and have a lot of downtime in between events. You could also do the strike mission. You don't have to map them that far in advance. And in any given event, in the current kind of number of we can identify who the top 10 finishers will be with probably a 90% accuracy, I would say.
Yeah. Do you think, so what about national diversity? Do you feel like it's important to have someone from Costa Rica, for example, or do you think that's not important?
I think there needs to be an investment in the feeder system that gives those surfers an opportunity to get to that world tour level.
Yeah.
But I do not feel a need to mandate the diversity on the elite level. I think it can be a meritocracy, equal opportunity, but then, meritocratic results.
Do you feel like the tours need to be together?
I don't.
These are all conversations that we spent hundreds of hours, maybe exaggerating, but a lot of time talking about. And there's some really good debates on both sides. That's why I'm asking. I personally feel that it's important that the tour stays, and I battled this both sides. I like the number where it's at. I understand the reason to go smaller. I played with both sides. The reason that I sort of fall in line with it staying at 32 or 34 was based on just like getting people from different countries. If we start to get this thing too tight, let's just say those top 10, we have a few Americans, maybe, right now, barely an Australian.
Yeah, I know.
And Brazilians. And so now we've really restricted that access so radically. And the other thing that happens is you start to just overlap people competing against each other every time, to where it is kind of nice to see a Liam O'Brien or someone kind of come through the field every now and again. So I get the other side. I totally do. I'm not sure and then I'll go into like how these events actually get paid for and that there's enough interest in what laying out a 2-day event or a 1-day event versus actually people being there and actually building some audience and stuff. I'm not sure that actually pencils out. Again,
I don't either.
That wasn't my job.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there's a balance of those. And the idea today, and I think the other thing is there's a huge responsibility, I think, for those people in those roles. As you said, I believe super strongly that, we've been talking about a revamped Bud Tour from back in the day. Those need to sprout up around the world, because ultimately I think this national diversity is like really, really important. If we just keep going another 10 years and it's a bunch of Australians, a bunch of Americans, a bunch of Brazilians, it will lose steam a little bit. And the one thing that's really funny is that, Fernando is going to do his ISA games in El Salvador. I'm really interested to see some of these other people surf. There's Olympic spots on the line. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And
I just don't think you need to mandate.
I don't think you need to mandate it, but I think you need to have it broad enough that you can bring a couple people in.
I know, and that's where the feeder system is important, and investing in that, and that's probably a loss leader, to be honest. That's a hard thing to monetize if you do it right.
Well, and that's why if you think about, people forget, we made a big change to the tour, and it is, starts with 34 men, 18 women, and after 5 events, a third of the field goes away. So it'd be a field of 24 and 12. It's a 3-day event for the men and women moving into the back half. So, they go 5 events, you cut a third of it out, and all of a sudden you have a 3-day event for the back 5 events. But you've kept the funnel wide enough at the front.
Yeah.
Actually allow some people to start. The other thing is, you kind of have like, hey, the clock is ticking. You really don't have time for a bad result, because all of a sudden now that qualification got moved into 5 events. So again, we'll see. It could be a disaster.
I know. And I level all of my criticism without any awareness of how things pencil out.
Yeah.
But I also kind of understand it seems like it hasn't penciled out great for the last 20 years. So why are we just trying to subtly tweak what hasn't penciled? Maybe a radical tweak. And I really felt like the COVID year was the year to really make some of those radical changes. And there could be an interim title maybe. And let's just get those top 10. Let's get them on a boat. Let's put them in, at Kandui or something, and see what numbers that generates in terms of viewership, because it could be.
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think it's a pretty radical change. So if you think about what the 22 tour will be, because that will be the most pure, at least that was designed. The tour will start in January, February, and end in August. August, September, and then you kind of push the back half, which is the Challenger. You have a cut, and you have a world title event. All of those are sort of radically new.
Yeah.
And I think from a business standpoint, not my place to talk, but I actually do think it's pretty transformative for the business.
Good.
So I think that's a really positive one.